Hello guys, this is Teacher Tanya, and for this English video, we are going to learn the uses of the simple past to construct affirmative, negative, and interrogative sentences, as well as when to use this tense. Keep in mind that it is essential for you to identify regular and irregular verbs, and present and past tense of each. The correct use of the auxiliary did is also an important part of this topic. So please listen and pay attention. Let's begin. The simple past. What is it for? The past describes a single completed action at a particular time in the past. It often appears with words that signal the past, such as yesterday, last week, and ago. It also appears with specific times and dates. For example, Bridget sent a letter 4 days ago. Anthony received it at 12:30 in the afternoon. Both sentences use expressions that point out that the actions were performed at some point in the past, and those actions already finished in that past. How to write a sentence in simple past. Let's see which are the elements that we need in order to construct an affirmative sentence. First, we need a subject, the verb in past, and a complement. For example, Rob finished the homework yesterday. Regular verbs in the past. As I mentioned before, it is important to difference between regular and irregular verbs. All regular verbs have the same past ending, ed. If the verb ends in E, just add the letter D. If the verb ends in Y, change it to I and then add ed. Some examples of regular verbs in the past are direct, directed, rescue, rescued, study, studied, decide, decided, act, acted. Irregular verbs in the past. Irregular verbs have different past forms. It means that they completely change their form when they turn from the present to the past. Let's see some examples. Get, got, become, became, write, wrote, write, growth, get, got, win, won. Negative form. Now let's learn how to write negative sentence, which is not very different. The negative of verbs in the past is formed with did, not, and the verb. Or we can use the contraction didn't and the verb. It's the same for regular and irregular verbs and for all three persons. Some examples of negative sentence in the past are the following. Peter didn't study for the test. We didn't go to the movies after all. It is very important for you to notice that when we use the auxiliary did or didn't in this case, the verb stays in the present form. We don't need the past if we have the auxiliary. Questions. There are different ways of making questions in simple past. The first one is using the auxiliary did. plus the subject plus the verb plus a complement. For example, did they go to school? Did you send an email? Did he write a letter? Once again, when we are using the auxiliary did, the verb stays in present. Questions with verb to be. This is another way of writing questions in simple past, but instead of the auxiliary did, we are going to use the verb to be in past. In questions with the verb to be, questions are formed with was and were. For example, who was Alexander Fleming? Were you at the movies? Where were they last night? And this will be it for this video. Remember that all the activities are going to be solved during the virtual class. If you have more questions, you can solve it during the class or leave me a message in the classroom. You must send a picture of the activities solved in your book. If you don't have the book yet, just for this time, you can solve it in your notebook and send a picture of it. Remember that the last day to send your activities of the week is on Sunday. If you have more questions, send me a message or comment right below the activity in the Google Classroom, and I will be glad to help you as soon as possible. Thank you and see you next time. Bye-bye.